was always the Jags.
It's always the Jags. It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags, your number one podcast for all things Jacksonville, all things Jaguars, all things Duval. I know, we're in pain this week, and it hurts. It hurts more than it should. I'm up here in Toronto, and the wintry cold is about how my heart feels. Ironically, I couldn't make the game in person. I had to watch it in DC, where I did meet a couple of cool Jags fans, so that was a little cool. And my family's taking a trip through Buffalo to Toronto, all the way to Detroit, which is where my parents are from. And on the way we passed through Buffalo, and man, the Niagara Falls is beautiful, almost as beautiful as Josh Allen. What would have been beautiful would have been a Jaguars victory. But of course, we didn't get that. So we'll talk about what that means, who's to blame, and what our biggest offseason focus should be as we move along, and hopeful ways for us to heal. If you're a Jaguars fan out there, go do something that makes you happy. Liam Cohen still had a good season. Find joy in the small things. If it's a burger, if it's your favorite burger from down the street, if you got a coffee joint that makes your macchiato just the way you like it, indulge yourself and take care of yourself. You need some self-care in these times because it's rough for all of us. We're all feeling the pain. But let's talk about what went wrong and what went right. Honestly, this matchup was a haymaker between two evenly matched squads. I mean, there was like 3 lead changes in the fourth quarter, and we were just blow for blow, back for back punching. And here's the main difference. Here's the main difference between this entire game, because we all knew that technically Jacksonville had a better team, but there were areas that Buffalo was stronger in us. Namely, you could argue their running game and offensive line was a little bit better. You could argue that their pass defense was better. And you could argue that, obviously, Josh Allen is better. And while Trevor Lawrence didn't have a bad game by any means, I believe Trevor Lawrence played well. I believe he played like the franchise quarterback we need, and I believe he did just enough against any other team. I mean, 3 touchdowns, overcoming mistakes. Trevor played good ball, dare I say great ball. Here's the problem. Josh Allen played flawless ball. He was flawless. He didn't make a single mistake, a single error. He put on that Superman cape, and he went and he did what Josh Allen does. And that's the thing the Jaguars just didn't have an answer for. And that's why I would kind of blame this loss more on our defense, more than I would blame it on our offense. That's why I would blame this loss more on our defense than on our offense. Because just when you look at the game flow of the game, it's like we took the lead, and then our defense couldn't get a stop, right? And then Buffalo went up 20-17. And then we were ready to take the lead again off a beautiful play from Trevor Lawrence to Travis Etienne, and it was 24-20. But as soon as we took the ball with 8 minutes left, I knew, man, we can go down and score, and I don't know if our defense can go get that stop. We're at home. The momentum is shifting our way, but I don't know if our defense can go get that stop. And unfortunately, they proved me right. Josh Allen marched down the field, left only a minute left for Trevor Lawrence to go do something miraculous. And of course, it ended up in a pick. Trying to put the ball, trying to play hero ball. That's all that comes down to. So my thought process is, again, that first interception, I think that was on Trevor. The last one to seal the game, again, I think he was trying to play hero ball, the pressure of the moment. I don't think that was ever by that point, that game script had shifted to like, Buffalo's going to win this one. And then there's a couple of things that led to that moment that it's like, again, that 4th and 2. Did Trevor slip? Did Liam Cohen not have the right play call? Or should Liam Cohen have taken the points? You can look at it one way. If we took the points there and Cam Little hits his kick, his 54-yarder, we win. That's a win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can also look at it from the perspective of Cole Van Lannon. He was out today. Walker Little was playing for him, and Walker Little was bad, and he had some key false start penalties on him. Cole Van Lannon is clearly a superior left tackle, but why wasn't he in the game? Well, he got hurt on a play last week where we were trying to get Trevor to 4,000 yards. And of course, you don't want to start, if you want to get Trevor to 4,000, you don't want to start putting your backup offensive lineman in there to protect Trevor because you need to protect Trevor. So you need your starting offensive lineman. But Trevor got to 4,000, and then we pulled him and we pulled Van Lannon. But Van Lannon had just gotten hurt. And that's one of those things you can't anticipate as a coach. But again, in that Tennessee game, we're up by 30 points. That's something on coaching. It's like basically Cole Van Lannon got hurt for nothing because we didn't need him to win that game. That's why, and now you could argue not having him could be why we lost because Walker Little had key mistakes that killed some of our drives. And Cole Van Lannon is just better. So those are all things that we're taking into consideration when we're thinking about, how this game ended up being a loss, So to me, you could put some of it on Liam Cohen. You can put some of it on Trevor Lawrence for that pick, for Liam Cohen's coaching decisions and for Trevor Lawrence, slipping that one interception where he got fooled by the linebacker. Again, that was a mistake. I love how he bounced back and played better ball after that. But overall, if you're going to pin the loss on somebody, I think it's going to be Greg Newsome. I think it's going to be Greg Newsome and some guys in the secondary. I'm not going to. Devin Lloyd was okay, but there's a lot of. If you look at Greg Newsome's stats, he was perfect in the wrong way. He allowed 6 for 6, over 100 yards and a touchdown, right? That's why we need Travis Hunter on the field, right? And I don't know if Tyson Campbell would have had the same stats if we still had him. But to me, if you want to look at someone who consistently made mistakes, I mean, again, I'm sure there are some plays where Greg Newsome locked down his guy and made him not open for Josh Allen to throw. We had a couple of coverage sacks, but to me, the only player that made multiple game-killing mistakes was Greg Newsome. I mean, that long throw to Brandon Cooks was the absolute killer. Absolute. Josh Allen was able to carve us up with nobodies. Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman. He was able to carve us up with nobodies because he put the ball in the exact right spot and he took advantage of all the busts in our secondary. And I don't know if that's defensively on Anthony Campanelli for making the scheme too complicated or not quite, or maybe selling out to stop the run too much and not trusting these receivers can get separation. But either way, there were cracks in the zones. And for Greg Newsome, that ended up being what allowed them to absolutely destroy him. And so now we're at the point where it's what do you do? What do you do now? What do you go from here? I think our defense is still solid, but yeah, if you want to ask me who lost us the game, I'm gonna put that on him because he gave up so many big plays, and there was so much miscommunication. And Joe Brady called a great game, but again, that was it. And so, but again, also everyone had one or two mistakes. Again, Cam Little's biggest mistake was missing that 54-yarder. And that, during the season, that had been a chip shot for him. But, pressure mounting, had to get lined up quickly. So there's a lot of factors. It's that Cole Van Lannon not being out there because of a coaching decision. Going for it on 4th and 2, coaching decision. Trevor throwing 2 picks, Trevor's decisions. Cam Little not hitting that field goal. And you could argue that 4th and 2 might have been on Trevor too. We don't really know for sure. I'm not sure if he slipped or what the plan was to use his frame. A lot of people think he should have started sliding or just dove, or they don't like how he dove. I'm fine with you diving and using your big frame, but when you dive, you just gotta the play he made against the Broncos, where he just completely leapt off the ground and went vertical, horizontal to the ground. That was a great play against the Broncos to make sure we got that first down to ice our win. That was the same thing that we'd be looking for here. Go vertical, stretch the ball out, and then pull it back in to protect it. But it didn't end up going that way. So the Buffalo Bills are moving on. Honestly, from my perspective, there's a lot of Jags fans who are I hope the Bills lose next. The worst thing that can happen for us now is for the Texans to march all the way to the Super Bowl without any impedance or without us getting a say in it. I think the worst thing would be for the Texans to win the Super Bowl this year because that's a division rival and you never want to see that. I don't want the Texans to win a Super Bowl before we do. No, I'm not okay with that. So if we are the Jaguars, I'm not rooting for the Bills, frankly, because the Bills are Josh Allen has never done it. I think he deserves to win a Super Bowl. And we'll hang our hat on, hey, we lost to the Super Bowl winner. That's how we did in 2022. We hung our hat on, well, we lost to the Super Bowl winner, because that was the Chiefs in the playoffs. So it becomes like, wow, yeah, we went toe to toe with whoever won the Super Bowl if the Bills end up winning. And that would put us right back in that class because a couple of things bounce our way, couple of things. If Cam Little hits that kick, we win this game. Like, I don't think people realize how close that is because, again, the entire narrative shifts because instead of us going, we take the lead, Buffalo takes the lead, we take the lead, Buffalo takes the lead. If Cam Little hits that, then Buffalo is just tying the game, right? So it'd be like tie, 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 tie. So it'd be like tie, and then we're in the lead, and then tie, and then we're in the lead, and then tie, and we're in the lead. So it would be like Buffalo is chasing us. And that's where Trevor plays his best ball when the other team is chasing us. And then at the end of the game, if all he has to do is march down there and get a field goal, I don't think he's trying to play hero ball because in this game, if he was trying to go down to get a field goal to win it, I don't think he's trying to play hero ball. Again, he didn't really need to play hero ball anyway, but like if the game is tied and you get the ball back at 1 minute, the pressure is on the defense to stop you. Instead, we got the ball back with 1 minute and we're down. The pressure is on us to move down the field and score. Completely changes the dynamic of the game. That's the thing I don't think analytics really takes into consideration. And I think had Liam Cohen, he trusted his defense, I think, a little bit too much because our defense had been playing, like, I understood the perspective. It was early in the game. We were up 7-3. It's like, yo, if we can go 14-3, the entire game script falls in our lap because the Bills will be forced to throw, so we don't have to sell out to stop the run. And we can continue to run the ball and drain the clock, which is what they're not good at. That was the perfect script for us to cruise to a victory. And I think he thought, and even if we don't get it, we are pitting them way back. I mean, if you give someone the ball at the 35 from a touchback, it's kind of like, okay, well, you might as well go for it when you're deep in your own end because then they'll get the ball at like the 10, and offenses hate getting the ball there. And I think he had a lot of faith in his defense to get turnovers and do stuff like that. And they didn't. They didn't. And I think, Josh Allen was able to march down the field and score. And again, I think that's more of an indictment on the defense and how they played the game. And again, I think we were able to bottle up James Cook, but just Josh Allen is superhuman, man. He's superhuman. And I think he's the best quarterback left in the playoffs, and he deserves to win it all. And hopefully he does. So, moving on to kind of who should win. Like I said, I think if I'm as a Jags fan, I'm rooting for the Bills now. Sorry that they lost, but I wasn't rooting for the Chiefs when they beat us in 22. But Bills, I like Josh Allen. I think he's a great quarterback. Really wish he wasn't in our conference. And I people keep saying it every year, like when they tried to say the Chiefs were done too early. But I really do think this is going to be one of the last years for the Bills to be one of the top teams in the AFC. And now the question shifts to our next topic. How do the Jaguars keep this going? How do we keep this from being a flash in the pan? And I mean, first of all, I think we got to address what is everybody complaining about when it comes to Lynn Jones and her exchange with Liam Cohen? I just don't get it. Like, there's so much horrific, terrible things going on in the world right now. There are so many reasons to be sad and be angry and be yelling at somebody and asking them the tough questions to get the answer and get the scoop. I'm perfectly okay with her just being like, "Hey, this was great what you did. What you did was fantastic. You should hold your head up." Because I think that's the message that he needs to hear because he has to keep us from the thing the Jaguars haven't had since the 90s is sustained success. We've always had these flash in the pan seasons, 17, 22, now 25. And now the flash in the pan seasons are getting closer together, right? But sustained success. We need to string 3 or 4 winning seasons in a row and get to the Super Bowl during this time. And we all were thinking Super Bowl this year. And that's probably why this hurts so badly. But that's the challenge for Liam Cohen to overcome. So for Lynn Jones to talk to him and be like, hey, you hold your head up. What you do is keep doing what you're doing. Give him that encouragement. Yeah, I'm okay with that, especially as a fan. And the thing is like, the thing that's annoying me the most is the way all the media professionals that are clowning her for what she did, the media professionals don't realize like you work and you represent us, the fans. The purpose of the media is to connect the fans to the team. You get paid because we watch your articles and we watch your videos, and then ads get played, and that's how you get money. So the whole point is for the fans to be connected to the team and the players and the coaches. That's what's happening. They're asking the questions that we can't ask. It's like the press secretary for the White House. She answers questions for the media. She's the liaison between Trump and the media. Or whoever the president is currently Trump, but whoever the president is in the media. The media, sports media, is the liaison between the fans and the team. And there's no Jaguars fan who disagrees with what Lynn Jones told Liam Cohen. Every Jaguars fan wanted him to know that. They all wanted him to know, hey, we as a city are all behind you. We're not gonna we weren't sure about you for a second. To Duval. Like we weren't sure about you for a second. But as a city, as Jacksonville, we are behind you. This was incredible. You gave us something beautiful this year. And when you're a Jaguars fan, I mean, you take what you can, not to say take what you can get, but like you take a season like this. Like I was in the stadium. He gave me great memories in this stadium. I got to see Trevor go for 6 touchdowns. I got to see Trevor go for 4,000 yards. Great memories, great atmospheres, just great moments in the stadium. It was a fantastic season, and he needs to know that. And he also needs to know that he can do better, and his team can do better. And the expectations, and what he needs to know is like there's expectations to meet. There were no expectations this year, and he exceeded them all. By doing that, now you have expectations, and now you've got to meet them. And the question is, how are you going to do that? As a coach, Trevor Lawrence, as a quarterback, how are you going to do that? Because last time we had expectations, we didn't meet them. In 22, we now created expectations. We didn't meet them the next year. Now the question is, how are we going to overcome that and do that instead this year coming up? And that's the question that, again, Liam Cohen's going to have to figure out. And that's the job of the coach. And yeah, next year we'll have to see. Our schedule doesn't look too daunting. They say it's the easiest strength of schedule, 11th easiest strength of schedule, but there's a couple of games in there with teams that aren't as bad as they look, right? Like we've got the Bengals on there, and again, they were missing Joe Burrow for a long period of time, so that's affecting the strength of schedule because they weren't very good. They didn't win a lot of games this year, but that's still not a team that you can be like, okay, that's not like the Cardinals, that's not like the Titans or like the piece of cake schedule that the Patriots had. And same thing, and we also go against the Ravens. Ravens, not and missing Lamar Jackson for a good chunk of the season, not exactly a gimme game. So a lot of things to consider in our schedule next season. A little bit later, I'll go through it and see what we, can look at. And I'll probably start doing some offensive offseason takes next week as we continue going on through the season. But yeah, I just think it's ridiculous for, even if you thought it was unprofessional or it shouldn't have happened. Again, if you remember the fact that the fans are the reason why reporters have a job. The fans are the reason why the football team exists. Because where do they get all their money from? Us, from buying tickets and t-shirts. If you remember that, then you know that, like, even some of the reporters are like, yeah, you could have done that backstage. You could have done that afterwards. No, because we wouldn't have seen it. As the fans, we wouldn't have seen it. And that's the whole point. She did it so that way she understood, hey, the fans are going to watch this. I do this job for the fans so I can connect the fans to the team. I'm going to give Liam Cohen a message that I know they're all saying. So no, I don't agree that she should have just done that behind closed doors or somewhere that's not. And no, I don't think that there was a more important question that needed to be asked. There was no more important question. There had plenty of time. Liam Cohen answers every question that he's up there, even the tough ones. And Obviously, it's easier to answer questions when everything's going well. And for the last 6 weeks, the questions haven't been that tough because everything was going well. But no, Liam Cohen answers every single question. There's plenty of time. And yes, I wanted Lynn Jones to do that. I had no idea she was going to do that, obviously, because I don't know her personally. But I think every Jaguars fans wanted her to do that. And yeah, for every media take that's besides, you know, this was a kind thing that she did, even if you think it's unprofessional and you think she should have done it behind closed doors, I would say that she knows how to do her job better than you do because she understands that her job is to connect the fan to the team. And what she just said to Liam Cohen was the most connected our team has felt to our fans have felt to the team than any reporter has asked all year. And again, that is the purpose of the reporters, connect the fans to the team, and that's exactly what Lynn Jones did. So she did her job. It was professional. I'm going on a high horse about it. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, we got a lot to look at for the Jaguars off season. I'll probably do another episode about that. Where I think we're really gonna reinforce the trenches. Definitely think having Travis Hunter back is gonna make a difference. I don't think Brandon Cooks goes off like he did. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in another episode. I don't like to get into mock drafts too early. I like to wait till after free agency. But honestly, with free agency coming, our ETN and Devin Lloyd are our two big ones. Those are the only two guys that I'd say I think James Gladstone's going to put a lot of work into bringing back. Because it's funny, like had we won the Super Bowl this year, I would have been okay with letting ETN and Devin Lloyd walk because we would have got some great comp picks and we would have already achieved the mountain. And it would have been okay. Let's rebuild a little bit, restock a little bit. That's what great teams do. When they do it all, then they get some comp picks back for them. That would happen in this case. So I like the idea of giving ETN a 2 or 3 year deal. Of course, if ETN hits the open market, he's a running back. He's got to get as much money as he possibly can. I like the idea of giving ETN a 2 or 3 year deal, maybe at 13 million, 39 million. I like that. And I like the idea of franchise tagging Devin Lloyd. See if you can do it again because that was kind of a flash out of nowhere, and we want to see a little more consistency. So let me know your thoughts about the Jaguars' loss to the Bills. Obviously, in my last video, I have a lot of comments from Bills fans because I said the Jaguars can't handle the Bills. If you're waiting for a detraction or if you're waiting for me to respond, it's not going to happen. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to respond to you. I'll just leave your comments there so it'll help to boost the algorithm and get my video shown to more people and grow my channel. But no, I'm not going to respond to you. No, I'm not going to retract what I said. This game easily could have gone in the Jaguars' favor. Couple of things didn't happen. Again, here's the difference. Trevor Lawrence played great. Josh Allen played flawless. You guys have a flawless quarterback. Congratulations. But no, I'm not going to print a retraction. So, yeah. All that being said, don't ever forget, it was always the Jags.